All right, thank you all for coming. I'd like to briefly introduce myself. My name is Richard Parsons. It's my honor to serve as Jim's campaign manager and your MC for tonight. So let's give a big round of applause to everyone here at Silver Branch Brewery who's taken such good care of us. As you may know, I've been involved in state and local politics for some time now. Ran the Democratic Party for a couple of fun-filled years, also president of the County Chamber of Commerce. And I'm here tonight to celebrate Jim's birthday, first and foremost. And also join all of you in supporting his campaign for county council. And first, so from all of us, Jim, I think we need to sing happy birthday. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jim. Happy birthday to you. All right. Now, I just want to say a few words about why I'm here. You know, it's a rare thing in politics these days to meet a person of faith who really cares about the right issues and is focused on the right issues and has the courage to lead and make decisions based on the merits and set some real priorities, and who seeks political office for the right reasons, to give back, to make a difference, to get this county back on track. And believe me, we need to get this county back on track. So I've known Jim for several years, and he's all of those things and more, as you'll see tonight and through the rest of this campaign. He's exactly what we need to meet this moment in Montgomery County. So let's get started. Our first speaker tonight is an Emmy Award-winning producer who has known Jim for more than 25 years. She's a past president of the National Capital Chesapeake Bay chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences and the former executive producer of News Channel 8. She also owns several businesses, including The Joy of Time, and is your pampered chef connection, if anyone wants to view their latest catalog or anything. She is Jim's mentor, family spokesperson, and a dear, dear friend. Please welcome Joy Zucker-Tiemann. Joy.
How is everybody tonight? I'm sorry, that's not good enough. How is everybody tonight? This is Montgomery County. We can do better than that. Look, it's a Thursday night. I just came from an opening of a distillery in Poolsville. It's been a great night. I was asked to speak tonight because Jim's campaign manager wanted you to all understand a little bit more about Jim. And outside of his brother and maybe his wife, I think I've known Jim the longest in this room. Here's the beauty of how Jim and I got to know each other. Jim was working at WJLA. I had just finished up starting News Channel 8. I'd been there for about 9 years. I'd gone freelance. And as president of the Television Academy, which, thank you for that long, the acronym is one thing. To the rest, here's this. Who's not in the television business in this room? Right. So NATIS is the organization that awards Emmy Awards. And Jimmy and I first met because he came to serve on one of the committees that I had created when I was president of the Academy. He wanted to volunteer and give back within our industry, despite the 12 hours or so that he was working every day at Channel 7. You're crazy, by the way. But this is who Jim is. Was whether he was working at Channel 7 or then Channel 4, or whether he Discovery Communications, all the different places he's been, he's always given 110%, always. Now that's easy to say in just about any industry, but when you're in the television business, you live at your station 24/7 sometimes. It's not just election night or the blizzard that's coming. Are we really getting more than 16 inches? I am not a weather forecaster, but all I know is they keep saying school will be canceled next week. Anyway, my point here is this. This guy shows up for everything. He understands what it means to serve. He is a son, a father, a husband, a brother, a mentor, an uncle, an HOA representative, a Gaithersburg City Council member, and in every one of those phases, Jim keeps giving more. But there's something that Jim and I have in common that I hope nobody in this room can understand, and that is that he has faced death. Have any of you ever had someone with a gun stand over you and threaten your life? Anybody? One? Then I'm sorry that you understand this. I have faced death twice myself. But what he's had to come through, and what he has survived, and what he chose to make out of that part of his life is why I'm standing here. Because when Jim was a victim, or should I say, I'm sorry, he was a hostage, he survived the indescribable. When he was an employee at Discovery Communications, he was coming back into the building, and there was a lunatic in the building who took 3 hostages. Jim was face down on that floor for hours with a man who purported to have explosives strapped to his body and a gun in his hand, threatening to kill him for hours. And when you survive that, in order to survive that, you make a promise to yourself, to your God, and to everyone that you've ever come in contact with, and that man has lived up to every one of those promises since September 1st, 2010, and then some. I think the proudest title I've ever had is his family spokesperson. Because in our industry, we know what people in journalism do when there's a situation in a news story like that. So my first inclination was to go protect Amy and the kids. And I will always choose that road. This man didn't just meet the moment. I told Jimmy we should drop an E. He has met the moment. Not just for Gaithersburg, now for the entire Montgomery County, which is why when I asked you when I first stepped up here, are you having a good time tonight? Because I know Montgomery County can do better. I know Montgomery County can be led by somebody better, and that is why Jim McNulty needs to become our next City Council at-large member.
Thank you, Joy. It's pretty hard to follow that, but thank you so much. And your words really touched, I think, a lot of us here in the audience. Next up, our good friends from the city of Rockville are here with us. We've got Barry Jackson and Adam Van Grack from the City Council. I'd like to have each of them come up and say a few words. Before I do, over the past several years, the two cities have built a real alliance. Jim's been on the Gaithersburg City Council. They worked together on common issues, and they built relationships and friendships and really modeled how elected officials can work together for the common good. And they've really forged a good relationship between the two cities here in Montgomery County. So with that, you want to go first, Barry?
Yeah, go first. So this is actually a hard act to follow, but I will try. So as you know, I live in King Farm, which is just down the road from here, and it's one of my favorite places. And you might not know that just a couple of months ago, we were sitting here, me and Jim, and he was discussing whether or not to take the plunge, whether to run for office or not, and just me and him. Now look at this. I mean, now we're off to a great start, and we have all these wonderful folks that have come out to support Jim McNulty for County Council, and I really think that's worth a round of applause. So my relationship to Jim doesn't go as far back as yours does. So I met Jim when I was elected to the City Council about 2 years ago. And we work closely with the Gaithersburg City Council. As you mentioned, we do a lot of stuff together. We have a lot of issues together. We have a big border. And I got to know every one of the members of the Gaithersburg Council and the mayor. And there's something about Jim that just drew me to him. He's a moderate. As I mentioned before, he's a man of faith. And he's a man of family. And all you have to do is meet his wife and his children to know about that he is really serious about his family. But he also has a positive attitude, but it's realistic, which is difficult to find in these days. And he listens before he speaks, which is really, really difficult to find, and a little bit unusual for a politician. But I want to say, and you touched on it, and and I know Jim will touch on it as well, but some people have very purposeful lives. Maybe it's a nonprofit, maybe as a business, who knows? Jim's purpose is to be a public servant. And he's done it in Gaithersburg, and now he wants to take that to the next step and be a public servant for Montgomery County, for the county council, and I think he can. So to sum it up, I support Jim McNulty for at-large county council wholeheartedly. And I think it would be a good, strong voice for the county council, and one that we actually need. So I hope that you would join me, and together we can elect Jim McNulty for county council.
So there are two types of elected officials, not just in Montgomery County, but really nationwide. And there's the first type that says, you know what, I've got this position, I've got some things I got to do, and especially when the Rockville and Gaithersburg City Council, where that is not your full-time job, I go to the meetings, I make my votes, I do some research, and I get it done. And you know what, those are fine public servants. But then there's another kind of public servant. And that is the public servant that says, this isn't just something that I was elected to do. This is something that's important to me. And I'm not just going to go to the meetings to give a vote. I'm not just going to go and do my research. I'm going to be involved in the community. I'm going to reach out to people in the community, and I'm even going to reach out to the elected officials in my nearby city to see what's going on with them. How can we collaborate? How can I do the best for my community? Not just vote, but do the best. Because to that type of public servant, their role is not just to do a fine job. Their job is to do the best possible work they can do to make their community better. In the times that I've gotten to know Jim, there is no question in my mind, Jim is one of those public servants that dedicates himself to the community, to the residents, and to every single organization, nonprofit, or business that he serves. Now, that's fine for a re-election speech, and he just won for re-election in Gaithersburg, and that's fine, but that is way more important now, because we're not just talking about the city of Gaithersburg here, we're talking about Montgomery County. And this county needs people who serve, who can look to not just the role to do their votes, but to say, this is important for me to dedicate myself to everyone in the county who lives here, every business in the county, every nonprofit, and every municipality in the county to make it a better place to live. And Montgomery County needs people like Jim McNulty. And it's great for us all to clap here, because there's no doubt, and I can tell you stories about meeting for coffee with Jim. I can tell you stories about being at Ocean City at MML, where a lot of other people are going, hey, let's go out to drink, and Jim says, hey, I want to talk to you about a new policy. Because in his mind, anything he can do to make Gaithersburg better for the residents of Gaithersburg, he's going to do. But it is critical, and it's great to see everybody here, but that's not enough. We have to do everything possible to make sure that Jim McNulty is there for Montgomery County, because Gaithersburg is better with people like Jim McNulty in Montgomery County. Rockville is better with people like Jim McNulty in Montgomery County government, and the entire county and the surrounding region are better when we have people who are dedicated to the community the way Jim McNulty is. So my call to you is not just to vote for Jim, because if you're here, you're probably going to vote, but it's reach into your pockets, because it takes a lot of money to run in an at-large race. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, make sure they know that their lives will be better with Jim McNulty on the county council.
Well, thank you both so much. That was great, and it's great to hear that the city of Rockville's in the house. But there's another great city in Montgomery County, the city of Gaithersburg, and for the last 18 years, our next guest has served that city of Gaithersburg, first as a council member, then the last 11 years as mayor of Maryland's third largest city. He's the founder and chair of this little event called the Gaithersburg Book Festival. Last time I was there, I think there were 20,000 people there. Just a little event that he's spearheaded and led. But he's also a small business owner. In fact, he built Jim's website when he first opened his freelance business back in 2014, I think. But he's unfortunately a huge Miami sports fan, and to which I just say, go Pats. But anyway, but he's also the unofficial fan club president of the Broadway musical Hamilton. And I have to say, from knowing Judd for many years, he's always in the room where it happens. So please welcome Gaithersburg Mayor and candidate for Montgomery County Council in District 3, who I hope you will also support, Judd Ashman.
Amazing introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you. I gotta focus. This is Jim's event. This is not my event. So, I will say Joy's remarks were absolutely beautiful, and I felt like we were going to spend the evening shedding a lot of tears, which would have been appropriate certainly for that story and that part of Jim's life and his motivation. But it sort of reminded me the first time I tasted Jim's barbecue, I quietly shed some tears because I'll never cook as well. I'll never grill as well as what Jim does. Just so you know. One other role that is kind of unheralded that Jim plays in the city of Gaithersburg is he's our unofficial weatherman. We call him AccuJim. And I am sort of praying to AccuJim about this weekend that the weather underperforms. Please underperform. Now look,
We'll do what we can.
we'll do what we can. Gaithersburg, I love Rockville. I have all the respect in the world for Rockville. But I will say it is tradition in Gaithersburg for the mayor to introduce his or herself as, hi, I'm Judd Ashman. I am proud to serve you as mayor of the greatest city in the world, Gaithersburg, Maryland. And that right there is absolutely the appropriate reaction. Jim is one of the reasons. He is one of the reasons we're the greatest city in the world. He is one of the reasons why I consider us to be the most effective, efficient, responsive local government in the state of Maryland. I see Jim all the time, and I hear from him even more often, and what our friends have said so far is absolutely true. At any hour of the night, I can get an email, what do you think about this idea? If it's about an intersection in Old Town, maybe we can improve the pedestrian safety here, or maybe speed limits here, or you just hear from him all the time. When people aren't looking, he is thinking about how to make lives better, how to make our city better. I see it, and this is the reason why when Jim decided to run, it was not a question for me. About whether I would support him, whether I would be on the team, or whether I'd be speaking here tonight. I was glad to do it. You couldn't stop me from doing this because this is exactly the right guy for our county. So, as well, I can't say it quite as well as Adam said it. It takes a lot to run these campaigns, and I hope you all will look for every single way to join us in supporting Jim. Our county needs Jim. And I will say, a lot of times during campaigns we get asked, how would you deal with this issue or that issue or whatever? I'm telling you, most of what we deal with, you can't predict. It shows up and it depends on sort of the values, the way people think through things. And Jim's reasonable, thoughtful way of going through issues and determining what's going to be in the best interest of the community, it's absolutely what Montgomery County needs. So please, join us. Support Jim in every single way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judd. I really appreciate that. Next, we're going to turn to our own District 7 right here in the Durwood area. Our next guest has served Montgomery County with distinction for the past 4 years, bringing extensive experience in public service and a real commitment to getting things done, which is something we sorely need a lot more of in this county. Dawn's been terrific on that, especially for her constituents. She's championed fiscal responsibility and smart economic development policies here, the kind of leadership that attracts businesses and helps us grow and provide more jobs while keeping this county a great place to live. Her work on extending housing opportunities and supporting working families reflects our shared values to making sure Montgomery County works for everyone. So please welcome one of the best members of our County Council Member Dawn Luedtke.
Thank you. And first, I want to give a huge shout out to Silver Branch Brewing Company, where we are tonight, here in my district. I am a huge supporter of all of our small businesses, of course, but especially of our breweries and wineries and cideries, as we should be. So I am just finishing my first term on the Montgomery County Council, and I represent all the way on the east side from Ashton out to Damascus, here in Durwood, and I claim one metro stop, Shady Grove, and the unincorporated portions of Gaithersburg and Rockville. So I greatly appreciate my colleagues from those cities because we do have to work a lot together, right? Issues, problems, things don't stop at a roadway on one side of the street. They just don't. And so right after I took office, Jim reached out right away because relationships are definitely a fundamental part of how Jim works, right? Jim is a serious person. He's also very fun, Mr. AccuWeather. And I say that because you are, in fact, from the Philadelphia area originally, as am I, but we are from opposite sides of the Delaware River. We are. We'll allow it. But we both appreciate Wawa, and we appreciate a lot of Philly traditions, but we are firmly Marylanders and have been for a very long time. Jim, I want to give you two stories about Jim that sort of talk about both who he is as a person and who he is as a worker, right? Why Jim is a serious person, but also a people person. I was hosting an event in my district that related to things in and around the Lakeforest property. And one of my colleagues was there and might have made some representations to the crowd assembled that were just not so much accurate, not at all. And we took a break because we were gonna have the folks assembled break into different breakout groups and write some things on Post-it notes and feedback that we could collect. And Jim comes over and goes, I have a thumb drive in my pocket with the slides from where we are in the approval process. Now, not everybody travels with a thumb drive in their pocket with the slide deck that you happen to need right at that moment. And I was like, great, we're gonna put it up. So right after the break, I'm gonna turn the mic over to you, and why don't you speak on behalf of Gaithersburg and talk about where that is in the approval process and speak to it with fidelity, with accuracy. And that was what was needed in that moment, right? He's prepared, he's thorough, he's diligent, and he knew what was needed in the moment. So I appreciate you for that. And the second story was from a ribbon cutting that took place in April. And it was it's budget season for the council, and we happened to not be able to get into the council office building much that week because we had a gas leak, as one does. And so I was spending some time over at the courthouse more often because there was a trial going on that was of great interest to me related to then Sergeant Patrick Koepp, who's now Lieutenant Patrick Koepp, and about the gentleman who had run over him and caused him to lose his legs. And so I left court, went over to the ribbon cutting, and then was going to go over to the Public Safety Training Academy for what we call Green Labs, and ask me later, I'll explain what that is. And Jim comes up to me and asks me, hey, is that Brian Dillman over there? I said, well, yeah, he's the new 6th District Commander. And he said, because Brian was a longtime SWAT officer. He said, that's the man who saved my life. And that was the first time Jim had seen him since that happened. And I just stood there and I watched you two greet each other, and I watched the love and the care. And Jim is in a position to speak about public safety in a way that even I can't. Even with all my vast experience in that arena, I cannot. I have not had to endure that. And Jim chooses, despite all of that, to get back up and put himself out there for people in a way that most people would not have the fortitude to do. This is a difficult time to be in politics. There are difficult decisions. There's a lot of heightened emotion. There's a lot going on. And the fact that Jim could just stay doing what he's doing, be perfectly content, but he knows there's a problem, and he knows he needs to step up to help fix it, and he's willing to put himself out there, then we need to put ourselves out there for him. Because I need allies on this body. I need serious people with me on this body. We have a lot to do, and we can do it, but we've got to focus on the things that truly matter, and also with folks who understand there are no easy fixes. This requires time, diligence, persistence, and ongoing watering, caring, and feeding of our public garden, if you will, right? We have got to stay on it. There is no easy fix. So thank you, Jim, for your willingness to serve. Thank you for whatever text messages you want to send about what ideas you're having and problem solving. And thank you for sharing yourself with all of us. We really, truly appreciate it. With that, I want to make sure that I let you have ample time to hear from our candidate for council at large, Mr. Jim McNulty.
Wow, I need some water. Thank you all so very much. Thank you for those kind words. I hope I'm worthy of half of them. My goodness. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is just an incredible turnout. I'm very humbled with the incredible stories that you all have shared, and I'm truly blessed to have you here tonight. Before I get started, there's so many people that I need to thank. First and foremost, my family, my wife, Amy, my son, Sean, my brother, Chris is floating around. Oh, there you are, right there in front. Our oldest, CJ, is finishing their senior year at school, so can't be here tonight. But none of this is possible without the love and support of an incredible partner and family who give me the strength and the support to be able to lean in the many ways that you just heard. I couldn't do it without you, and thank you for having my back always. I love you. To all of our elected officials who are here tonight, in addition to the folks behind me, I see my colleague from Gaithersburg, Councilmember Rob Wu is here. I see former Delegate Kirill Resnick from District 39. I see candidate for Montgomery County Council at Large, Scott Goldberg. We have our sheriff, Max Wee, who's here. Is there anybody else that I missed? Oh, Barbara Ebel, who's running for Register of Wills. We have several members of the Democratic Central Committee here. Marco Rivera-Oven is here. And I think, Steve Solomon's here. You're over here. I didn't make it all the way around to Steve Solomon's running for at-large as well. Oh. I got Max. And Bob Wright, former Rockville City Council member, here as well. Thank you. Thank you. And of course, there's a number of elected officials with the General Assembly who expressed their regrets that they couldn't be here tonight. Obviously, they're in Annapolis. They have a very difficult session and appreciate their support, and we send them good thoughts as well. To my friends behind me, I will start with Councilmember Don Luedtke. I am so excited for the chance to serve with you on the Montgomery County Council. Thank you for being the very first person to encourage and endorse me to run for this office. As you heard, Don and I got to know each other, bonding over some concerns and frustrations that we had with maybe some decisions and thoughts there. But Dawn is one of the good ones, and we need her back on the Montgomery County Council. Mayor Judd Ashman. So I met Mayor Judd when he was still a council member, and we met for breakfast at Panera, which was Judd's office. He met at the Panera. It still is his office. My neighbor, Beth Juniam, kept telling me, you've got to meet Judd. You got to meet Judd. And I am so glad that I did. That conversation changed the trajectory of my life in a very good way, because I would not be here tonight had I not had that conversation. And I have learned so much from Mayor Ashman. I learned how to bring people together. I've learned how to navigate difficult conversations. And if I've learned anything about Judd Ashman, is that he will make a fantastic county councilman. To my friends from Rockville, you all are the definition of grace under fire. Marissa Valeri was supposed to be here as well, but she unfortunately was not feeling well. The Rockville Council has withstood vilification and personal attacks, but they have stood their ground and they have upheld their values. I am so proud to know you guys, and I'm so grateful for your friendship, and I look forward to continuing that friendship for many, many years to come. Okay, let's see if I can get through this one. Through my dear friend Joy. There are maybe, I can count on one hand really, the number of friendships from my television career that have really stuck. And Joy is at the top of that list. I could go years without speaking. I could move out of town, which I did. And I could pick up the phone and I would know that Joy would be at the other end. And what she did for us in the wake of the Discovery event is something I will never be able to repay. She gave us cover, she gave us strength, and she made sure that my family was protected. And that's what a true friend is. So thank you for being you. In my time of need, Joy meant the moment. She wasn't asked. She just sprang into action. Because that's what leaders do. That's what meeting the moment is all about. Seeing the need and taking action. Not because you've been asked, but because your conscience demands it. Meeting the moment means finding leaders who are willing to step up and use their God-given gifts to make a real difference in our community. Not virtue signaling or lip service, but making difficult, constructive decisions that can help get our county back on track. I'm gonna be honest, the thought of running another 12-month campaign after completing a 6-month re-election campaign was daunting. It was not my first choice, honestly. It would have been so much easier to rest on my laurels and let the torch pass to someone else. But that's not what this moment demands. And let's be honest, that's not really my style either. And the more I thought about it, the more I came to realize that my experience in Gaithersburg can be a tremendous asset for Montgomery County. And that's why we're here tonight, to officially kick off my campaign for Montgomery County Council at Large. In Gaithersburg, we have done what we can to tackle challenges like affordability and job creation. In just the past 4 years, we've actually approved more than 3,500 new housing units, including the Lakeforest redevelopment. And we've attracted hundreds of new jobs, thanks to X-Energy and AstraZeneca. And we continue to see multifamily projects being proposed in Gaithersburg, because unlike at the county level, we rejected rent control. But at the same time, we've been investing in preserving affordable housing. We created a multifamily improvement loan program so that landlords could make sustainability improvements to their properties without jacking up their rents. And we increased our down payment assistance program for city residents, helping working families achieve the goal of the dream of home ownership. And that is a model that I want to expand to the county. So tonight, I am proposing a $40 million workforce housing down payment assistance fund to invest in families, not landlords, so we can get 1,000 working families into their first home. Including teachers, first responders, and longtime renters, providing up to $40,000 in down payment assistance in the form of a zero payment, zero interest loan. And these loans are not paid back until you either refinance the mortgage or you sell the property. Many of these people, many of these families are already spending between $2,000 and $3,000 a month, sometimes more, on rent. So we know that they can make a monthly payment. But when you are living paycheck to paycheck, it is almost impossible to save the nearly $25,000 to $40,000 it takes to get to the closing table to buy that first home. Through this fund, working families who qualify can begin to build generational wealth, and we free up over 1,000 rental properties for other working families. And the best part, after about 9 years, this program begins to fund itself as the loans are repaid, allowing us to fund another 140 loans each year without touching the general fund. This program is already working in Gaithersburg. We have over $5 million in receivables so far from the program that we've done there. This is what making housing affordable looks like. This is meeting the moment. Meeting the moment also means getting our economy going. At a time when everything is getting more expensive, thanks to DOGE cuts and Trump tariffs and mass layoffs, which seem to be hitting Montgomery County more acutely than anywhere else in the country, our taxpayers cannot afford to pay higher taxes. Our county budgets continue to explode. Since 2002, our county budget has increased 240%. But our wages and our job growth have failed to keep pace. We need to encourage investment. We need to tell industry, we want you here in Montgomery County, not across the river in Northern Virginia, not up 270 in Frederick, but here in Montgomery County. It's also time for this county to recommit to the economic vitality of Silver Spring. Silver Spring took a huge hit when Discovery left. I know, I had to close my business that was supporting Discovery. And then top it off, the Purple Line delays have decimated the local businesses there. We also have projects that have been laying fallow for years, like White Flint in North Bethesda, or the ComSat property in Clarksburg. We need to get creative to get these projects moving. Things like tax increment financing, or TIFs, which can help create districts that would fund the infrastructure improvements that are needed to make those projects successful and to attract new investment in our county. Too often, we ignore the infrastructure challenges. Because quite frankly, they're hard and they're expensive. And unfortunately, the word road has become a four-letter word in many circles in Montgomery County. For example, the American Legion Bridge. That needs to be fixed yesterday, not tomorrow, not 5 years from now. And the county government needs to be an advocate and a partner, not an obstacle. One of the main reasons that we spend so much time in traffic is that the jobs are not where we live, or we can't afford to live where the jobs are. And unfortunately, too often, transit cannot connect those dots for us efficiently. We need to fix all of that. For too long, our entire model has been a hub and spokes with everything flowing into DC. We need employment nodes across Montgomery County, in Rockville and Gaithersburg and Clarksburg and Olney and Silver Spring and Burtonsville, so we can spend less time commuting and more time living our lives. And being in the moment also means strengthening our communities. We've already talked a little bit about public safety, and that continues to be an ongoing concern. Staffing shortages at Montgomery County Police have stretched their resources so thin that a couple years ago, MCPD had to eliminate their patrols in Gaithersburg, Rockville, and Tacoma Park. And we had to scramble to hire new officers to make sure that the community stayed safe. And if that wasn't bad enough, there are a slew of retirements on the horizon that not enough people are talking about. Councilmember Luedtke's talking about it, but we need to talk more about it. We need to have a solution. Complicating matters is that there are many sworn officers who do not feel supported by certain members of this county government. We can support our police and ensure that our community's civil rights are protected, and we must. On day one, I will meet with Montgomery County Police and any of my county colleagues who would like to join me and reset the relationship between the County Council and MCPD. As you've heard, I have seen their professionalism up close, and I'm alive because of it. I'm committed to helping build a culture of service and support that uplifts our community and makes our sworn officers feel valued and appreciated, because they are. But in order to meet the moment, truly meet the moment, you must be in the moment. And the only way to be in the moment is to listen. And I hear you, Montgomery County. I hear how fed up you are with tax increases that do little to invest in growth. I hear how you want more support for our small business community and our entrepreneurs. And I hear you when you say, we should be doing better. We can do better. We can meet this moment. But the only way that we can is with your support. My colleagues have made several pitches already, and I will make one as well. We are doing public financing. We are already halfway to our goal, just 5 weeks since I announced my campaign. And that is a testament to you and your belief that we can build a better future for our county. If everyone who has donated already found one more person to contribute, then we would qualify for matching funds tomorrow. So I'm giving you homework. My challenge to you is to find one more donation. It could be your spouse, it could be your neighbor, or better yet, get your social circle together and host a meet and greet so we can talk about the issues that are important to them. This is how we meet the moment. Coming together as a community, listening to one another, and building a better future for all of us. And that future begins today.